In February, Newsnight reported on a kind of modern-day slavery. As the world celebrated the 200th anniversary of the formal ending of the slave trade, in West Africa we uncovered slavery in the cocoa plantations, which produce the raw materials for the multi-billion-pound chocolate industry. A group of school children in East London were so moved by this story, they wrote a play about it, and in a moment we'll hear them, in quite sparkling form, take on the chocolate industry. First, Humphrey Hawksley on the slavery which shames us all.
I want you to meet Brandon Ambersley. He's got the lead part in his school play, acting the real-life character of Mark Yao Kwame. Brandon lives in Newham, East London. Mark on a cocoa farm in the Ivory Coast. Brandon wants to be a film star when he grows up. Mark's forced to stay out of school and farm cocoa, the raw product that makes chocolate.
Chocolate. It makes me feel sick.
I met Mark back in February. Curious, shy, frightened.
I used to go to school, but my father has no one to work on the farm, so he took me out of school. My mother's a long way from here. I haven't seen her for 10 years, since I was 2 years old.
Chocolate! It makes me feel furious!
His story inspired huge anger among Brandon and his schoolmates. What Mark's forced to do breaks all international rules about children.
Chocolate. It makes me feel miserable.
All through the cocoa belt, children, machetes to farm with, untreated wounds. Barely anyone here makes enough to live on.
The work that he's doing is really, we can say it's back-breaking work. It makes you backache, it makes you feel tired, it makes you feel furious. And
After seeing my Newsnight report, Galleon's primary school contacted us out of the blue and told us about the play. From everything they'd been taught, Mark was a modern-day child slave.
That's a real machete, yeah.
How could a multi-billion-pound industry allow it to happen?
If I was in his shoes, I'd probably want to kill myself by then.
At the beginning of this project, I just thought slavery was one of them things, just like what happened years and years ago, but like that is still going on today, and like these poor African children.
If I was the Prime Minister of Britain, I would make a stand and make sure that it's ended.
So whose fault is it?
If they got their fair money that they should, they'd be quite rich. But it's because of these companies that they're not, because the companies are very greedy and they take all the chocolate.
And they're making millions of pounds, and they can't even give any money to them who are making them rich.
Okay, so how many of you here, after you saw the film, have stopped eating chocolate altogether? All of you?
Yeah. I think I'll start eating fair trade chocolate.
Just across the road from the school, a sweet shop.
I don't think any chocolate here is fair trade.
This is grassroots consumer power at its very basic. West African cocoa, used by big companies like Nestle, Mars and Cadbury's, sells for about 30 pence a kilo, while fair trade cocoa sells for about 80 pence a kilo, which gives farmers enough to develop community schools, clinics and transport. Britons spend £4 billion a year on chocolate, but only 23 million on fair trade. That's less than 0.5% of the total market. performance day, off to the big theatre with a sense of mission. The children have already written to movers and shakers about the chocolate story. They've even had audiences with powerful politicians. And into the theatre itself, a private meeting with a government minister, who came out with his own warning to the chocolate companies.
I think manufacturers certainly should be taking heed of what this group of young people are saying, because I think their concerns are going to be increasingly widely shared across future consumers.
And global campaigners with a harsh message too.
We want to reduce your profits to such an extent that you will begin to do the very things that you say you can't now. We want you to ensure that the 12,000 children, at least we know, that are slaves there, according to the United Nations, are set free and given education. And in the end, the consumer will do this.
Will they? It's 7 years since I first reported this issue. I want you to meet Mark, scarred, illiterate. Strange now to see Mark and hear my own voice in this London theatre.
Then he spoke. I have a dream that everyone will believe that freedom can work. I've got dreams to remember.
I've met many children like Mark.
I've got dreams to remember.
I have a dream that humans will be human.
Dreams to remember.
I have a dream that all children will be educated.
To remember. Listen, honey. I've got dreams. Rough dreams.
I have a dream that every cocoa pod I pick will set one person free.
I've got dreams to remember.
We know it's happening, so why don't we stop it?
Dreams to remember.
Well, a little earlier I was joined by Penny Hawley of the Biscuit, Cake, Chocolate and Confectionery Association, which represents all the major chocolate companies, and by some of the pupils from Galleon's Primary School who wanted answers.
How do you feel about child slavery going on in this world because of chocolate manufacturers and companies that you are representing today?
Well, Jahid, I feel really sad about that. In fact, I feel more than sad. I feel angry too. And you know what? We need to change this. And that's something that we as the chocolate industry are working to do. We're working to do it through the Cocoa Protocol. Do you remember we talked about that earlier? And what that means is that we will have a system called certification. That means teams of people are going out into farms. In fact, it's happened already in Ghana, and it's happening at the moment in Ivory Coast, so that we know what's going on the ground. We can find out where there are problems, and we can make sure that we put them right.
Samaya, you wanted to ask a question about the Cocoa Protocol, didn't you?
Yeah. If you care about the slavery so much, why have you broken your promises on the Cocoa Protocol? Why don't you make up for it and make a change now?
Well, Samaya, I know that we haven't made the progress that we hoped on the Cocoa Protocol. It is complex and it's difficult, but it can make a difference. And I have been out to West Africa and I've met farmers where it can make a difference. I've recently seen some interviews with cocoa farming families, and I've seen where, because of the work that we're doing, children like Mark are getting an education now. They're getting the same kind of opportunities that you have in your schools, because it's very important to us that the children in the cocoa farming families do have those opportunities, and they're not being stopped from going to school by helping out on their family farms.
Why do you say it's so difficult for some of the richest countries in the world not to rely on slave labour when you said that by 2005 you would have the Cocoa Protocol in action and stop it?
Well, it is very complex being there, but we are committed to making it happen. And the children have done a great job here, not only obviously in the play, but also in the work that they've done in terms of talking to the politicians and making sure that it's on their agenda.
But you signed up to it for 2005. That was the point of Samaya's question, and it hasn't happened.
We signed up to the Cocoa Protocol to make sure we had a certification system in place. That certification system is in place this year, and by next year, we are committed to having that in place on half of the farms in Ghana and Ivory Coast. It is complex, it is difficult, it is taking us too long, but we are there and we are making a difference.
Samaya, what do you think of that?
Why don't you just do it now? Or why next year?
It's very important. There are about 2 million farmers. Now that's an awful lot in West Africa who depend on growing cocoa for their living. And I would love to be able to say to you that we had solved this problem now, but it is taking us some time to reach every one of those farmers, and that's why we need the certification system, so that we can go out, we can see what's happening on those farms, and make sure that the work we're doing is in the areas that it needs to be happening.
Amy?
What do you do for those 42p that we give you to buy your chocolates? Couldn't you pay the farmers a bit more so the distressed children working on the cocoa manufacture, on the cocoa plantations can gain an education?
Yes, that's absolutely right. And one of the things that we want to do is to see that those children do get an education. But we need to work in partnership with people. We have responsibilities for those children, but so do the governments in West Africa, and we need to work to support them.
With respect, I mean, you pay 30p a kilo. If you paid 80p a kilo, which would be apparently 0.7% of the gross revenue of your business, if you paid just a bit more, you wouldn't have this problem.
Not sure those figures are right, but you're right, we need to pay the farmers more. That's why we're running schemes like the Farmer Field Schools. It's something we recognise, and it's something we're working on.
Well, the figures come from Anti-Slavery International, but why don't you pay them more? I mean, you could do it. Why not pay them more?
We pay the market price for our cocoa.
But you set the market price. You are the rich companies that buy the cocoa. You set the market price.
We pay the market price for our cocoa. But one of the things which I've learned out of this is our influence is not just about the money we pay. It's about the other things that we can do in terms of bringing partners together so we have the right people working on this. One of the things I really liked from your play was when you were talking about the quote from Nelson Mandela about how if all the children in the world unite, we can do something. That's about working together. That's exactly the approach that we are trying to take. We're trying to work together with all the people who need to support this and make sure those children have a brighter future.
Babu, what was your question?
You said the same thing about this 6 years ago, but you haven't kept your word, so how am I meant to believe you this time round?
Well, Babu, that's a very good question. We became aware of this problem 6 years ago, and I think you're right to say we need to make more progress on this. But we are committed to reaching half of those farms across West Africa next year, and obviously our work doesn't stop then. We're not going to leave this until we have made sure that children are not being harmed and that cocoa is being grown responsibly.
Why did it take you so long to realise that when kids are struggling?
Well, you're right, it has taken us a long time, but it's a complex area to work in, and it's important that we also bring together partners and other people to work with us. And sometimes when you're working with other people, you don't necessarily move at quite the pace that you'd like to.
Penny, I'm sorry, we're going to have to leave there. Just one question for you all. Do you all miss eating chocolate or not?
No.
You don't miss it? Okay, thanks very much. Penny, thank you very much. And thank you and everybody at Galleon School. Thank you very much.